I get letters from hell. From author David Stelzl. Ever since I moved in here, I'd been wondering what this letterbox was all about. I don't mean the one on my house, but the one in the woods. Our house, I mean. My house is in the middle of a small forest. And in the middle of the 4-kilometer-long driveway was an ancient letterbox nailed to an oak tree. There wasn't another house in sight for miles. According to the people in the neighboring village, there had never been one here either. But what the hell, it was just a stupid letterbox. I had completely different worries. I could afford the house on my own, but I still missed him. It's sad that everything happened the way it did. On the way to work, I thought about calling Mike, and well, maybe trying again. But then I remembered all the fights and his nagging. We mustn't hide, Jens. Over and over again. I didn't want to be a stupid activist, I just wanted to live my life in peace. At work, I answered pointless emails and wrote bills all day without meeting a soul. As I got into my SUV to drive home, it suddenly started thundering. Somehow this worried me. The drive home was long. Almost an hour. But I was happy to put up with that if it meant having peace and quiet. After just a few minutes, I couldn't get a signal on the radio. Spotify didn't work either, mobile internet was practically non-existent here in the middle of nowhere. I wish I'd remembered to download the stupid playlist. The feeling of being watched suddenly overcame me. It felt like someone was sitting in the back seat and staring at me. Of course, there was no one there. But the feeling was still there. It surrounded me more and more. Now it also felt like I was seeing shadows in the trees that surrounded me. As if they were all looking at me, just waiting to attack me. The lightning strike, which must have been only a few hundred meters away and lit up the whole area, almost scared me to death. The street was so brightly lit for a moment that I could clearly see the letterbox at the side of the road. Of course, the lightning had to strike right here. What a stupid coincidence. A few minutes later, I was at home and immediately discovered that the electricity had gone out. Wonderful. What the hell, I thought to myself, and treated myself to a large glass of whiskey. Normally I drank it with Coke, but I kept it in the cellar and didn't want to go down there. 1 glass became 2 glasses, 3 glasses, 4 glasses. At some point the bottle was empty and I fell asleep. The next day was pretty uneventful. On the way home from work, there was no thunderstorm either. However, as I drove past the letterbox, I don't know. I had a strong urge to stop and run over to him. I had the feeling he was calling me. When I realized that I had actually slowed down to 20 km/h, I got a bit scared and accelerated again. Whether it was just curiosity or if there was more behind this desire, I couldn't tell at that point. Today I was also able to fall asleep without drinking myself senseless. That was progress. But it didn't do me any good, I got terrible nightmares. One of them was particularly striking. The doorbell rang and I opened it. Carl, the postman, was standing outside. But his face was eaten away by maggots, his clothes were tattered and dirty and his eyes were black. "You have mail," he said. I wanted to take the letters, but he didn't have any with him. "You have mail," he shouted angrily. I didn't know what to do, I just stared into his pitted face and couldn't make a sound, as nightmares sometimes do. "You've got mail. Open your fucking mail already." As he jumped towards me, I woke up, thank God. My heart was pounding fast and I was drenched in sweat. As I stood in the shower, I decided to just forget about the dream. By about lunchtime I had managed to do so. Usually nightmares have some kind of meaning, but what was this one trying to tell me? That I should tip the postman? That he was sick? I had no idea. Well, at least until I started on my way home. Then, just before arriving, I was overcome by a strange feeling. As if I needed something urgently. I desperately wanted to open the letterbox. He seemed to be calling me. And indeed, this time I stopped. What was the big deal? I went over to the old oak tree and examined it. It was at least 100 years old, but the red flag indicating that there was mail inside was still up. I felt so ridiculous, I just wanted to end it. So I opened the stupid thing. And found a letter. Old and yellowed. No sender, no addressee. I opened the envelope. Remember our deal. Before I get angry. The writing was already half faded. The letter had obviously been lying here for ages. Nevertheless, it sent shivers down my spine, as if the message was addressed to me. When I got home, I first took a good swig of water. I could have got a bottle from the cellar, but I didn't want to go down there and drank from the tap. While watching TV, I wondered who the message was addressed to and what had happened back then. Maybe it was about a business deal. Or even a robbery and one of the thieves didn't want to share the loot. Either way, I was glad that the stupid mailbox was now out of my thoughts. This time I had no nightmares and slept very well. As usual, I got ready for work in the morning. On my way out, I closed the basement door. I don't know why it was open, but I didn't care. Number 10 horses would bring me down there. The day at work was uneventful as usual. That was nice. Others might find this daily routine monotonous, but I liked it. No bullying, no insults, and no stares. No people. That was exactly how I had wanted it to be. My inner peace continued until I was driving through the forest and suddenly had to brake at high speed. I was 100% sure that I had left it open. What was that all about? Is someone playing a false game here? The letterbox was closed again and the red flag was up. Either I was losing my mind or someone was playing a nasty trick on me. I had to find out, so I backed up a few meters and walked over to the mailbox. My heart was pounding as I was about to open it again. And again, there was a letter inside. I didn't hesitate and opened the envelope too. Come down already. You can't break this agreement. My body was trembling. My mind too, if that was at all possible. For a moment I felt torn out of my reality, but quickly regained my composure. I don't know who it was, but someone was playing a dirty trick on me. Maybe it was even Mike. Maybe I still resented the fact that I had moved in here alone. Or was there more to it than that? I didn't want to dwell on that. So I got back into the car and drove home. Immediately I noticed that the cellar door was open again. This time I knew I had closed it. I had to go downstairs. See what was waiting for me there. Even if I should meet the devil himself down there. Slowly, I descended, step by step. The light was not defective, but the lamp provided only a very meager light. The cellar was very small, so I immediately had the whole terrible scene in view. Mike was lying in the middle of the room. Hands and feet nailed into the floor, right on the edge of a pentagram that was obviously drawn on the floor with blood. 6 knives were stuck in his torso. It was the most horrible sight I had ever had to endure in my life. The man I loved, tortured to death. So you remembered. Good thing I didn't have to force you to keep your word. Something not of this world spoke through my partner's lifeless body. I was so startled that I fell on the seat of my trousers. But he was right. I remembered now. I remembered the bad feelings that had built up inside me. Of all the years I had been bullied, insulted, beaten, and spat at. Of the separation from Mike. How I moved into this house alone. And that I had met the demon here in the basement. The deal was simple. I get peace, a quiet life. In exchange, the demon got my body and soul after a year. To make the deal, it needed a catalyst. This was the person I loved the most. He didn't understand when I lured him into the basement and performed the ritual. Yes, I remember. Is it time now? Yes, it's time. In fact, you're 2 weeks overdue. Is it going to be bad? Not for me. And you should consider yourself lucky. We've got big things coming up in this world and you've got a front row seat. Now open up and don't resist. The nameless demon was coming inside me, I felt it. I was no longer Jens. I was someone else. What had I done? Hey horror fans! I write all my stories myself and they all tell one larger story. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next new video. Thank you for watching. Until next time.